Hey folks, welcome back. So, another very, very good fight. Ortiz and Madrimov. The scores 117 to 111, 115, 113, 115, 113, all in favor of Ortiz. I scored it 8-4 for Ortiz. But an excellent fight. This card is definitely delivering. Very, very, very good card indeed. I thought Madrimov started very well. He was dancing a lot, moving a lot, did a lot of good boxing, better movement, showing his lot of skills. And to me, I was getting, because I had picked Ortiz, right? I was thinking, ooh, I may have made a mistake here. But then Ortiz sort of got going in round 3, got his jab going. And then I scored it round 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, all Ortiz. Some of them were close, of course. I'm not suggesting that this was a blowout, but I thought Ortiz was just out fighting Madrimov. Now, bear in mind, I like Brooklyn scoring. I'll always be favoring the coming forward, more aggressive fighter. And so to my eye, that really was Ortiz. But Madrimov came back in both the 10th and the 11th round, I thought. I thought Ortiz won the last round. There were 3 official warnings given to Madrimov throughout the fight. And to be perfectly honest, he was lucky, in my mind, not to lose a point or possibly 2. It could have been the case that he would have been given the, you're losing a point there. The ref, I think, did the right job. Although there is a limit to how many warnings you can give somebody, right? But I think it was fair. And then, of course, the scores are then legit. It's not like, oh, well, but he lost a point. But Madrimov definitely, deserved the warnings he got. I've made a note here. It was a cracking fight. There's an expression, the fight in the phone booth, and that's really what it became. They both came to fight, they both came to win, and I think Ortiz has established himself now as a 154-pound, if not king, at least he's right there. Who does he fight next? Well, what is Terence Crawford going to be doing, right? I mean, I know Crawford, by the way, Crawford's looking huge. He's sitting next to Usyk, or at least he was at some point, and he's looking like, oh, wow, he's, I don't know what he's weighing, but he's possibly weighing like light heavyweight weight. So him making up to 168 won't be a problem at all. Coming up, of course, we've got somebody else who's one day probably going to be a light heavyweight, and that's Hamza Shiraz. We're going to see what Mr. Shiraz is all about. He's certainly going to be tested, and that's going to be an exciting fight. But yes, this was a good fight. I really enjoyed it. I thought the right man won, and I think there's a lot of room for discussion about how the scorecards could have gone, because a lot of this is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, if somebody said to me, oh, well, Bob, you're out to lunch, you're scoring it 8-4 for Ortiz, it was nowhere near that wide, I'm not going to get into a fight with anybody about it. It could have been 7-5. So much is how you see it, but I do think that the right man won, and it was a good fight. Again, so far, there's not been a fight here where you'd go, oh, a bit of a snooze fest. Why did I pay so much money to watch this kind of thing? We've had that excellent light heavyweight fight to start with, where Callum Smith totally proved me wrong. I thought he was done, but absolutely not. And then what about Ajit Kabayel coming off the canvas to stop and drop the Big Bang Zhang? The more I think about it, the more I think I'd like to see very much Kabayel and Usyk. Kabayel and Dubois, which I know I said earlier on in my review, wouldn't that be a good fight? That'd be I think a lot of people would, of course, favor Dubois. But Yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard to bet against Caballel. He's made me money in each of the three fights, so I've seen him in. So he's my guy. But getting back to Ortiz and Madrimov, I think the right man won. I wouldn't get into a fight with somebody about the scorecards. Ortiz, a lot more defensively blessed than I think many of us have given him credit for. We've always known him to be a really aggressive fighter, but he's shown a great deal of defensive ability. So there we go. Time to get back in front of the big screen to watch Hamza Shiraz. Will he become the UK's next middleweight champion of the world? I remember watching Alan Minter become the middleweight champion of the world. So let's see. I know a lot of people are rooting for him, and we'll see you probably in, I don't know, half an hour or so. Okay, cheers, bye-bye.